Kumusta po mga kuya at ate, mga tita at tito, at siyempre kumusta mga lovey-dovey pamangkin. Napakarami nating mga free time ngayon, napakaraming oras mag-isip-isip. Ilan na ang napatawad ninyo sa mga taong nasa listahan ng mga ayaw nyo, galit kayo, meron kayong mga hinanakit, merong mga sama ng loob na ang lalim-lalim. May napatawad na ba tayo? Paano ba talaga nagpapatawad? Paano nasasabing mag-move on? Isaiah 43:18. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. So, how do you forgive? How do you forget? How do you move on? How? Yan ay tanong. At dahil naman napurga na tayo sa napakaraming lockdown-themed topics, iba-ibahin naman natin ang usapan. Kahit mga lockdown ngayon, mag-usap naman tayo ng mga ibang bagay na walang diretsyong kinalaman. Although, unforgiveness is a matter of lockdown. Para ka naka-lockdown, nakakulong ka doon sa pusong isinara mo para hindi ka pasukin ng iba, pero ikaw din hindi makalabas. So parang lockdown din yan. Pero ang tanong, how do you forgive? How do you forget? How do you move on? How to be really free from the painful past? Marami na kasi nag-try, yung mga nagpapatawad, pero biglang pagka na-trigger, galit pa rin pala talaga, lumalabas pa rin. Kahit na sinikap mo na, nagpatawaran na kayo ng iyong asawa, ng iyong anak, magulang, kapatid, pero mamaya nagsusumbatan na naman kayo, bumabalik, yung pala nandun, hindi man talaga nabunot. How do you really get free from the painful past? Change the past by changing the story you tell. Paano kayo makakalaya sa isang nakaraan na hindi maganda, na masakit, na mahapdi? Palitan nyo yung nakaraan. Paano pinapalitan nyo? Hindi ka na pwedeng bumalik doon. Palitan mo ang kwento tungkol doon. Katulad ni Joseph. Yung storya ni Joseph magandang paghugutan ng paraan ng pagpapatawad, yung tunay na makaka-move on ka, yung hindi kunwari lang dahil sabi ng Diyos magpatawad ka, tapos nagpapatawad ka kunwari pero sa loob nandun pa rin pala, lumalabas din paminsan-minsan. Si Joseph, ang kanyang status from star sonship to banishment in Egypt to slavery and then to prison. Parang ang daming pain nun, ang daming sugat nun, ang daming mga gabi ng iyak yun. Ang daming hapdi, ang daming kirot, ang daming sama ng loob, maring galit pa. Genesis 41:50-52. Nung si Joseph the dreamer ay nasa Egypt na, before the years of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, "It is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household." So, ganito nireclaim ni Joseph ang past. Ganito niya niretel ang past. Ang anak niya, pinangalan niyang Manasseh. Na ang ibig sabihin, God has made me forget. Sabi ganun, papangalanan ko siya ng ganun kasi ang totoo nangyari sa buhay ko, ipinalimot na sa akin ng Diyos ang lahat ng naging hapdi, sakit at kirot ko sa bahay ng aking ama dahil sa mga kapatid ko na inapi-api ako and sold me to slavery. Nireclaim ni Joseph yung past by naming his son in a very positive way to emphasize the positive thing that God had done to him in spite of his past. Then the second son, he named Ephraim and said, "It is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering." So you see, imbes na magmukmok si Joseph, lagi niyang alalahanin at i-reprise at i-replay yung mga kaapihan niya, yung pain niya, yung sorrow niya. Pinangalanan niya ang anak niya na God has made me fruitful. In the very land of my suffering, umasenso ako, yumaman ako, naging makapangyarihan ako, so papangalanan ko ang anak ko na Ephraim. So you see, Joseph was reclaiming his past, retelling it in a way that was beautiful and powerful. Yung iba, paano makakalaya sa past? Yung naalala nyo yung kaapihan nyo ng bata kayo, maalala mo yung tiya mong masungit, yung tatay mong lasenggo, yung nanay mong binggogera at chismosa. Tuwing kukwento mo yun, negative. Lagi na lang na hindi ka na pag-aral, hindi ka na bigyan ng ganitong damit for junior and seniors prom, lagi hindi ka na bigyan ng allowance, inapi ka ng iyong stepmother, ng iyong stepfather, and keep retelling and retelling that, your bitterness just keeps replaying, lumalalim pa yung ugat. How can you move on kung ganon? Joseph reclaimed his past by beautifying what was not beautiful. And you can do that. There was a change of story sa buhay ni Joseph. Sabi niya, God has made me forget, and I move from suffering to fruitfulness. Proverbs 23:7. As someone thinks within himself, so is he. So think of yourself as a victim, you are a victim. Think of yourself as a winner, you are a winner. Think of yourself as full of sorrow, you are sorrowful. So kung gusto mong palitan kung sino ka, palitan mo ang pag-iisip mo tungkol sa iyong sarili. Kung gusto mong palitan yung past, palitan mo ang pagkukwento tungkol sa past. Ang repackaging, yung angle ng storya. Think of your past as you want it to be. Reshape and repossess the past. Lahat sa atin na merong bahagi ng nakaraan na pangit, malungkot, madugo, hindi pwede kayo mag-move on. Kasi lagi yung maalala. Magpe-pretend ka lang na nag-move on, pero hindi. Pag na-trigger, bumabalik. Kailangan balikan nyo yung kwento at ibahin nyo ang pagkukwento doon. Hanapan siya ng pinakamagandang version na totoo rin, hindi yung binubola mo lang sa sarili mo. At yun ang i-play up. Yun ang pataasin. Yun ang i-lift up. Kung pangit ang kwento ng past mo, ang pangit doon ay maaaring perception mo lang. So you can go back to your past and change your perception. Kaya mahalaga yung binabalikan mo yung nakaraan, hindi lang lilimutin, tatabunan, magpe-pretend it never happened. No, you can never forget that way. Balikan mo siya, hanapan mo na maganda, at yung maganda na yun, ang ikwento mo na, yun ang gawin mong main feature ng yung storya. Kasi baka naman hindi talaga pangit. Akala mo lang. So review your perception. And apply Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. So kung ngayon, sa part ng iyong buhay na ito ngayon, sa oras ng buhay mo, nakakita ka na ng purpose sa buhay, nakita mo na yung blessing ng Diyos, balikan mo yung nakaraan, at ikwento mo yon sa sarili mo at sa iba, bilang paghahanda para sa ngayong present mo. Na yon ay nire-purpose ng Panginoon. Na ang yon ay paghahanda, no? At ang Diyos ay kumilos sa kabila nung nakaraan na yon at naging ganito kang ngayon. Doon ka lang makakalaya sa isang past na hindi masyadong pleasant. So, be free from the past. You don't just move on. You can't move on. You could only forget paminsan-minsan. Pero pag naalala mo, babalik ulit ang lahat ng pain and anger. Kaya sa Genesis 42:22-23, Reuben replied, yung kapatid ni Joseph na isa sa mga nang-api sa kanya, "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood." So you see, itong magkakapatid na ito, dahil ibinenta nila si Joseph to become a slave, buong buhay nila, yun ang kwentong binabalik-balikan ng kanilang gunita, yun ang kwentong nagbumulto sa kanila lagi. Kaya hanggang ngayon, buhay na buhay pa yung past at hindi pa sila nakakalaya. Kasi yun pa rin ang kwento at hindi nila naiba yung kwento na yun. So they have been imprisoned in that very bad plot, in that very bad story. Classic example of being unable and willing to change the story. So they are stuck in guilt, in negative feelings. So, to be free from the past, to change the past, change your perception of the past. Isipin mo, ay, kaya naman pala nangyari sa akin nung araw yun para maging ganito ako ngayon today. Kasi kung hindi naman nangyari sa akin yun nun, hindi ako ganito today. Yan, you can change the perception of the past. Then you can be free from the pain of the past. Pagandahin ang kwento. Lalo't kung maganda ang napuntahan mo sa buhay, kung maganda ang iyong kalagayan, kahit saan ka nang galing, dito ka nag-end, ang ganda-ganda, pagandahin mo na, kahit doon ako galing, dito ako napunta, o yung pala, preparation yun para maging ganito ako, para ka makalaya. Pagandahin ang kwento. Pabaitin at unawain ang mga kontrabida sa kwento. Halimbawa, ay, yun naman pala ang stepmother ko, kaya ako inapi-api. Meron siyang mayoma. Laging masakit ang kanyang matris, etc. etc. Kaya naman pala lagi siyang wala sa mood. O kaya naman pala ako inapi-api ng tatay ko kasi victim siya ng sarili niyang tatay noon. At naging alcoholic siya, kaya wala na siya sa katinuan. Pero dahil inapi nila ako, nagsikap ako, nag-aral ako, ngayon, umasenso na ako. Kung hindi nila ako inapi, baka naging katulad lang nila ako sa buhay kasi lagi akong sasama-sama sa kanila. So, buti na lang lumayo ako, nakabuti sa akin na aking paglayas mula sa napaka-impaktong buhay ko. So, ngayon, salamat at naging ganun yun dahil yun ang naging daan para maging ganito ako ngayon. That is how you repossess the past. That is how you retell the past. So, you could really move on because you can forgive. You can only forgive when you retell the story. Genesis 45, 4-7. Then Joseph said to his brothers, nung si Joseph ay kaharap na ng mga brothers niya na hindi siya kilala, kasi kailangan nila ng tulong ni Joseph, na ngayon hindi nila nakilala, high-ranking officer na pala sa Egypt, come close to me. When they had done so, he said, I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed, and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. So you see, Joseph gives an ugly event in the past a beautiful meaning at hindsight. Sabi niya, alam niyo kung bakit niyo ko ibinenta? Plano yun ng Diyos. Para magamit niya ako ngayon, para kayo iligtas at ang ating lahi at ang marami pang ibang tao. Iniba ang interpretation, ang meaning ng nakaraan. This is the way people could really forgive and move on and forget. Repossess the past, retell the past in view of your beautiful present. For 2 years now, there has been a famine in the land, patuloy ni Joseph. And for the next 5 years, there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So, hinanapan at nakita naman ni Joseph ng meaning yung mga kabiguan niya in the past, na yun ay step para sa tagumpay niya in the future. Joseph interprets history as part of the divine plan, he and his brothers only being actors of God's will. Ngayon, kung ikaw ang kontrabida sa kwento, ibahin mo rin ang perception. Iligtas mo rin ang sarili mo sa pagiging kontrabida. Do not just be guilty forever. You cannot move on. Interpret your former bad ways as means to do good later. Yun ang ginawa actually. Yun ang technique ni Joseph. Proverbs 16:4, the Lord works out everything to its proper end. So, ang mahalaga yung ending. So, gandahan mo yung ending. Kung hindi naging masyado maganda yung beginning, gandahan mo yung ending, and then you can move on and forget the beginning. Job 37:13, whether for correction or for his word or for loving kindness, he causes it to happen. So, inascribe naman ni Job sa Diyos ang lahat ng nangyayari, kaya natanggap niya. Lamentations 3:58, you have taken up my cause, O Lord, you have redeemed my life. So, napaganda dahil pumasok ang Diyos sa eksena. Hindi forgiveness lang ang igagawad mo sa iba o sa sarili. That's not enough. It cannot work. Kundi, dapat ibigay mo understanding, then empathy, and then acceptance, like in Joseph's case. And even appreciation of them, of what they did. This will lead to your freedom. Forgiveness, madaling sabihin, I forgive you, pero ang totoo, nasa loob mo pa. Hanggang hindi mo siya nauunawa at inuunawa, hindi ka nakaka-identify sa kanyang mga pain and sorrows at hindi mo yun natatanggap, at hindi mo na-appreciate yung mga ginawa niya kahit sa simula parang hindi maganda, pero nakita mong ang kinawian maganda, hindi ka lalaya. You have to hukay the past, re-understand, reinterpret, and retell it. Genesis 50:15-21. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, what if Joseph holds a grudge against us and pays us back for all the wrongs we did to him? But Joseph said to them, Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, yes, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children. And he assured them and spoke kindly to them. So yun ang style ni Joseph. Sabi niya, okay, masama talagang balak niyo sa akin, pero may magandang balak sa akin ng Diyos. At sa magandang balak na yun umuwi, ang mga ginawa niyo sa akin masama, so tama na yan. Nakabuti para sa lahat ang nangyari. Move on na tayo. Philippians 3:13. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. How is Paul able to forget what is behind? Ang dami-dami niyang pinapatay ng mga followers ni Jesus. Ang dami-dami niyang pinahirapan. Paano siya nakamove on? Paul revised his perception of his bad past. Therefore, he could forget what is behind. Acts 26:9-11 and 16-17. I too was convinced that I ought to do all that was possible to oppose the name of Jesus of Nazareth. And that is just what I did in Jerusalem. On the authority of the chief priests, I put many of the Lord's people in prison. And when they were put to death, I cast my vote against them. Many a time I went from one synagogue to another to have them punished, and I tried to force them to blaspheme. I was so obsessed with persecuting them that I even hunted them down in foreign cities. Until Jesus talked to Paul according to the report of Paul. Nasabi sa kanya ni Jesus, now get up and stand on your feet. So remember, get up, stand on your feet. Recovery yan. I have appeared to you to appoint you as a servant and as a witness of what you have seen and will see of me. I will rescue you from your own people and from the Gentiles. I am sending you to them. At pagkatapos, kinausap ng Diyos, kinausap ni Jesus, yung isang gagamitin niya para makarecover si Paul. Acts 9:10-16. There was a follower of Jesus in Damascus named Ananias. In a vision, the Lord said to him, Ananias. And Ananias answered, Here I am, Lord. The Lord said to him, Get up and go to the street called Straight Street. Find the house of Judas and ask for a man named Saul from the city of Tarsus. He is there now, praying. He has seen a vision in which a man named Ananias came and laid his hands on him so that he could see again. So in other words, sinasabi ni Jesus kay Ananias, pumunta ka doon para maging instrument ka na makakita uli si Saul. But Ananias answered, Lord, many people have told me about this man. They told me about the many bad things he did to your holy people in Jerusalem. Now he has come here to Damascus. The leading priests have given him the power to arrest all people who trust in you. So in other words, ang thesis dito ni Ananias, a bad past, I or we will not forget. Bad ang past ni Paul. But the Lord said to Ananias, Go. I have chosen Saul for an important work. I want him to tell other nations, the rulers, and the people of Israel about me. I will show him all he must suffer for me. So, there's another formula here to forget. Change the interpretation of the future to the angry people's satisfaction. You see, galit sila Ananias, at takot sila kay Paul, or Saul na naging Paul. Pero ang sabi ng Panginoon, hayaan mo na. May iutos ako sa kanya. Marami siyang gagawin at magdudusa siya ng sobra-sobra dahil sa akin. And dahil doon, na-change na yung perception ng future na si Paul ay hindi na magiging tagapagpahirap sa kanila. Si Paul na ang mahihirapan. So in a matter of speaking, nagkaroon ng balancing ito, naging madali para kay Ananias to move on. So may another technique here na pwede nating ma-derive, makuha. Change the perception of the past so you can move on, or change the perception of the future so you can move into the future. So to be free from the past If this is done about the past and the future, that it is revisited and retold, reinterpreted, then you really move on. Not just forgetting the pains of the past or the fears of the future, which you can't, but now you even appreciate them. 2 Corinthians 4:16-18. Kaya't hindi kami nasisiraan ng loob kahit na humihina ang aming katawang lupa. Patuloy namang lumalakas ang aming espiritu araw-araw. Ang bahagya at panandali ang kapighatiang dinaranas namin ngayon ay magbubunga ng kagalakang walang hanggan at walang katulad. Kaya't ang paningin namin ay nakatuon sa mga bagay na di nakikita at hindi sa mga bagay na nakikita. Sapagkat panandalian lamang ang mga bagay na nakikita, ngunit walang hanggan ang mga bagay na di nakikita. So how are people able to accept their present, which is very hard, very difficult? They interpret it in terms of a preparation for a glorious future. So they are able to bear with the present, even looking forward, hopefully, happily, joyfully to the future, instead of feeling bad and bleak and hopeless. Laging ganon, you retell, you reinterpret. Pero totoo truthful retelling, truthful reinterpretation. Hindi yung magmumukmuk ka, puro lungkot ang makikita mo, tititig ka na lang lagi sa mga nakakaiyak. Sabi gano'n, kahit mahirap to ngayon, wala itong kwenta pag i-compare sa benefit na napapala namin ngayon at benefit na pupuntahan namin. So, ganyan din ang pagtingin natin kahit sa mga lockdown, mga ganitong sitwasyon. May benefit ito. Hindi pa lang natin alam ngayon, hindi natin nakikita. But we hope on something that is unseen. And our hope for that which is unseen is greater than our despair for that which is seen, for that which is visible at the moment. 1 Peter 5:10, pagkatapos niyo magtiis sa loob ng maikling panahon, ang Diyos na siyang pinanggagalingan ng lahat ng pagpapala, ang siyang magbibigay sa inyo ng kaganapan, katatagan at lakas ng loob, at isang pundasyong di matitinag. Kahit itong lockdown na nararanasan nating lahat ngayon, let's turn it into a blessing. Magpakatatag tayo, maging blessing tayo sa iba, maging lakas tayo ng mga nanghihina, maging pagkain at inumin tayo ng mga nauuhaw at nagugutom, maging kagalakan tayo ng mga nalulungkot, and this will turn out to be a blessing for them and for us. It's an opportunity to do good in the name of God. It's an opportunity to be strong instead of to be weak. It's an opportunity to be hopeful instead of to be in despair. It's a choice. But you've got to retell, you've got to possess the story, reinterpret it, and make it beautiful. Because God is beautiful. And God is able to make everything beautiful in His time. Siyang tumatawag sa inyo upang makibahagi kayo sa Kanyang walang hanggang kaluwalhatian kasama ni Kristo sa patuloy ng ating binasa. What? How to change the interpretation of the past so you are able to forgive, to forget, and to move on. Gawin natin ito very practical, mga kapatid. Meron ba kayong part ng iyong past na very painful? Meron bang kontrabida sa inyong buhay noon? May ginawa sa inyong sobrang nakasugat sa inyong damdamin? Let's do this. Ha? Kumuha kayo dyan ng papel, kumuha kayo dyan ng pen at isulat nyo ito. Pag wala kayo ngayon, manood kayo ng replay. Identify the person. Ilagay niyo sa blank. Sino siya? Halimbawa, si Tia Agueda. Name the act. Binuhusan ako ng kumukulong langis. Whatever it is. Name the negative effects. Nagkapeklat ako. Nagkasugat ako. Napaso ako. Give it a positive interpretation now. Ay, salamat, napuno ako ng peklat. Kasi kung hindi, baka sobra ako naging kaakit-akit. At kung ano na nangyari sa akin, naging immoral pa ako. Diba? Na positive yan. Na nabuhusan ka ng kumukulong langis. Sabi mo, ay salamat, nabuhusan lang ako ng kumukulong langis. Hindi ako inilubog sa isang drum na langis. There's always something positive in it. There's always a way of retelling it and repossessing the story. And then see the hand of God in the story. God caused it. That yes, the Lord has given me this handicap to keep me humble. Otherwise, I could have probably nagwala ako sa buhay o naging sobra akong mayabang. God gave it a good result, an ending and meaning. At dahil sa mga nangyari sa akin na yun, Nag-concentrate ako sa pag-aaral, nagpakatalino ako, hindi ako umasa sa kinis ng balat ko na napuno na ng peklat. So, tumaas ang aking mga marka, naging magaling ako sa school, at nagkaroon ako ng napakagandang career. See the logic or the reason behind the act and the event. Kayo na mag-supply niyan. And see the good effect in you. Kayo mag-supply. Then be thankful for it. Now, you are ready to forgive. Dito pwede na. Doable na. Kasi naunawa nyo na ang nangyari. Nakita nyo na yung ganda nun. At kung naunawa nyo pa si Tia Ageda, na kaya naman pala siya ganun, masyado siyang repressed and suppressed, hindi nagka-boyfriend kahit kailan, kaya galit na galit sa'yo, na iinggit siya sa'yo, kaya kanya binusan ng mantika kasi ang dami mong manliligaw. So nakita mong victim siya. At ngayon hindi mo lang siya nauunawa, naawa ka pa. Awa pa ang nangyari. Only then can you really forgive. And do not forget, Tia Ageda, you can't change the meaning of the story, change its value, then move on. God bless all of us.